We don't know who owns it. Why? Because it's registered to an offshore tax haven in the British Virgin Islands. Alex mentioned tax havens, he mentioned the Panama Papers. There it is, made real. That house is worth $65.5 million. It is 30,000 square feet. We think that it might have something to do with a man named Robert Fanshawe, who works for KPMG, who works for various forest service companies. But again, we're not sure why, because when you're that wealthy, you can hide behind your wealth. You can hide behind shell corporations. You can hide behind numbered corporations that have their registration in offshore tax havens. We're going to keep going up the street, and we're going to hit two more very important addresses. Just up the street is a building, a house owned by the 7th richest family in BC. Those are the Khosrowshahis. You might not know their name, but you know their businesses. They founded Future Shop. And one of the nephews in that family is the CEO of Uber. The Khosrowshahis are worth $1.2 billion as a family, and their modest little house up the block is worth $41.5 million, and it's a paltry 18,000 square feet. So we got to feel a little sorry for them. The Khosrowshahis, by the way, are very generous with their money when it comes to the BC Liberal Party. Since 2005, they have donated $750,000 to the Liberal Party of BC. So, you know what? I think when Christy Clark was in power, she probably took their calls. One more address to tell you about just up the street, 4743. A tiny little house, 16,000 square feet, worth only $40 million, but it's owned by the Seagulls. And one of our next speakers is going to tell you a little bit more about that family. Another family that's very generous when it comes to political donations and has some links to some very, very big real estate holdings throughout BC and throughout this country. But you know what? We're not even close to seeing where the rest of the richest people in BC live. Jim Pattison lives on the other side in West Vancouver. He's worth $6.4 billion. We have a number of other families in the top 20 richest in Canada here in BC. We've got the Aquilinis, we've got the Gallardis, and of course we have our friend Chip Wilson, whose modest little house is just down the street. He's worth only $3 billion. I'm going to hand it over to Harjat. We're going to hear from a couple of speakers up here, and then we're going to keep touring this modest little block.
So can I ask Jade if you want to come up and talk about, so we just heard about the Seagulls, and Jade's been a tireless organizer at SFU, both with the Tuition Freeze Now campaign and also with the Teaching Support Staff Union at SFU. You want to come up?
Hello, beautiful people. How's it going? My name is Jade, or you can also call me Chen. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the organizer of the Teaching Support Staff Union, which is an independent, directly democratic and feminist union that represent all of the TAs, TMs, sessional instructors, and the English language interpretation instructors at SFU. And I'm also a proud member of the Tuition Freeze Now campaign at SFU. Before I get into all the juicy details, I just want to acknowledge that we are on the unceded territory of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh people. I think it's really important to remember that we are walking and living on stolen land, especially in the face of these multi-million houses occupied by people who further the colonial agenda and directly profit from erasing, displacing, and exploiting Indigenous people and land. And as you know, in a little bit, we're going to pass Joseph Seagull's home. Actually, I looked up yesterday. It's worth more now. It's worth $63 million.
Shame!
A little bit about Joe. He is the founder and president of Kinzu Capital Corporation, which is a venture capitalist finance corporation and real estate investor and developer amongst other wonderfully exploitative investments that they have. And Seagull has also served on the board for SFU for 12 years. This is the kind of people we have on the board.
Shame!
and was one of the key players that built the SFU downtown campuses and donated a heritage building that is now known as the Seagull Graduate School of Business. The establishment of SFU's downtown campuses directly contribute to the rapid gentrification of downtown Vancouver and downtown Eastside. And not to also mention that SFU is also home to the Beatty School of Business that received countless donations from Ryan Beatty of Beatty Living, one of Vancouver's biggest landlords and developers. The same one, they are the same one that tried to put a luxury condo in Chinatown but was stopped by the working class Chinese resident 4 times. But it's not hard to know that SFU administration has always been friends to big monies. And in the recent years, they have actively been rebranding SFU, moving away from its working class history and throwing students and workers under the bus in the process. SFU now has one of the highest concentration of precarious teaching force with 77.7% of contracted teaching appointment, according to a report by the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternative. And since 2001, tuition at SFU has gone up around 184%, and wages have only increased 26%.
Shame!
But there is ongoing resistance at SFU. TSSU members standing our non-hierarchical, directly democratic and feminist principles have been resisting. We have been organizing and pushing back on SFU's attempt to screw over workers and students. Together, we have stopped SFU from stealing from international students through health insurance. We have won child care benefits and one of the most solid sessional instructor seniority system in Canada. Since last year, we are also working with students to push back on SFU's just tuition increase. Last October, I will be really quickly, but I want to tell you a juicy detail about tuition freeze. Last October, SFU sent out one single email to all of the students telling us that they're increasing our tuition to as high as 20% for some incoming international students, and they are holding a consultation so conveniently scheduled in the middle of a midterm exam at 9 o'clock in the morning, thinking that no student's gonna show up and they can just raise our tuition another year and student won't say anything. But this year, students are not staying quiet. We stormed the consultation and started the Tuition Freeze Now campaign. In 5 months, we negotiated with SFU outlining why students cannot afford another tuition increase while mobilizing kind of a sleepy student population if you know SFU. On March 21st, 8 o'clock in the morning, 80 students showed up at the Board of Governors' final budget vote meeting demanding SFU to implement tuition freeze and work with students. In a room filled by students, the board voted yes to the tuition increase. And when we then used their own rules to suggest that the board pass motions stating that they will work with the student at the provincial level and making the budgetary process transparent, they called us out of order.
Shame!
So the students shut the meeting down by chanting, SFU, don't you F us. And other chants, but that one just my favorite. So although the result didn't go with our demands, but this is only the beginning. The students are fired up. We are ready to turn this into a provincial-wide student movement, building solidarity across campuses. And we're going to go back to the Board of Governors, and we're going to take this fight, along with all of you, to the provincial government. TSSU has also just entered bargaining with the university. And the SFU has already presented us with a proposal that includes concessions and cuts after they just increases our tuition.
Shame!
But we know that with our members standing united, and with a strong solidarity with students and with all of you, we will win another fight. Just like we know we will get a truly accessible education where tuition is zero for both domestic and international students, because we are all in this fight together. I am reminded of a quote that my good friend Vince told me, that class consciousness is knowing which side of the fence you're on, and class analysis is figuring out who is there with you. I'm really glad that we are all on this side of the fence together, like quite literally, because together, they ain't got nothing on us, these billionaires. They can keep on living the illusion of power, but I am looking at the truly powerful right here. So will you chant with me? When people are united, we can never be defeated. The people united can never be defeated. The people united can never be defeated.